Well, hello people, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines 2. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Last time out, I asked you guys for some name suggestions for this build, and Mickey D came up with the wonderful name of Kokomo, in reference to the Beach Boys song and our recently departed favourite brown dog. It's a really sweet name suggestion, thank you so much for that, and I absolutely adore it. So welcome to episode 2 of Kokomo State, everyone. In the first episode of this series, we got started with a basic neighbourhood providing all the services we need, and spoke about how we can add quite a lot of character to the town with some simple prop work, service expansion, and the brand new texture painter arrived with 1.6. And in this second episode, we're going to pay the same sort of attention to the starting industrial area, turning it from boring zone blocks into much more customized, inspired industrial districts, distribution centers, recycling centers, and other local non-pollutive industry. Let's make our starting industry look good, shall we? Let's get started. I want to start by orientating some buildings here. Something I'm a big fan of in Cities Skylines in particular is creating sightlines and the orientation of buildings against currently existing infrastructure. This particular instance, we have the highway exit here. So we'll start with a little bit of a distribution center over here, I think. So let's bring this in. So I want this kind of open yard visual available from the highway. We'll place a few of these in. So these buildings, in terms of what they actually function as, they'll spawn in as generic manufacturing, so they'll just contribute to your regular production chain. So we'll draw in a few of these. Let's give them an alleyway road now, so we can start to formulate how people are actually going to drive in here. So unfortunately, the entrance for these is actually on the front, so I'm going to need to anarchy a road through the factory, which I don't mind. I can definitely work with this. But we can get a look at here, right? Kind of this old rusted corrugated iron building. Already some prop inspiration to work outside with here as well. But I don't want them so close to the road, so I'm actually going to grab both of them. Make sure we are perfectly aligned as well. And then just push them back a little bit. And the reason for this is I want to place some trailers here. So with the mod Find It, we can search for a whole range of base game props, including all of the vehicles that you see driving around the city. So we can have some box trailers here, waiting to deliver the goods of Kokomo around the world. And then there's also, if we actually just search for truck here, we'll also find the vehicle and these semi-truck props here, which can just tuck nicely, and no need to put these under all, you know. And we can have some really nice little storage yards. Very realistic looking industry, I think, from here. And I essentially just want to continue this design, but forming shapes from them, essentially. I want this to form almost like an L shape, I think, around this corner, to kind of isolate this yard. Now also in this industrial pack as well, we have these, which are, you know, plopped truck yards, which I'll definitely make use of a few of these, I think. But I think I want to start breaking up the little bit of the grid here now. So I'm going to rotate this by 45 degrees. And then I could even do 2 of these, I suppose. There's no reason why not. Though we are starting to approach onto some hilly terrain here, which I want to be wary of. Set everyone to the same height there. And just that slight change in angle will do an awful lot for the build here. And we'll keep everything connected with alleyways. And then we'll start to introduce some finer fence details along this area as well, which I want to go for chain link here. And basically just feed this. I'm going to send that down to the road actually there as well. Let's also bring in some of the old, well, not old, currently very new favourite surface painters. Bring in some mountain brush here. A little bit of dirt. Just bring that size down a touch as well. Lots of dry grass around this industrial area as well. Take a little bit of the colour out of it, so to speak. And then we'll grab some of our wildflower bushes. Bring these down onto a little brush size filler here. And just fill out these areas. And some different age palms here too. And probably some rocks as well. Maybe the occasional boulder. Got some people walking down the highway here. That's fine. No problem at all. But already, right, how much more interesting is that than what we started with just the regular zoning? It just looks so much more realistic there, doesn't it? I'm really happy with that. This was supposed to have been fixed in a recent patch, but evidently it is still here. But maybe once we give them a train station, they'll have a better way into the city. Furthermore, we still have the... we do still have the traffic from last episode, but I'm actually over here to steal the fire station. Because I think I'm going to bring this over into the industrial area. You can just sit there for right now, we'll likely find another home for it. And then let's give them an entrance now, so these guys can actually start to function. I'm not too bothered about whole grid here. But I will go through where I can. I'll keep this side whole and then allow the break to happen in this sort of area. Let's bring it down. And then we can see where that will plug in. It might use some concrete tiles here in the middle for this surface. And then we'll grab some more of these box trailers here. Closest we can get is 6 meters there. I'm happy with that. And I am actually going to keep randomization on, almost as if there's different companies storing trailers here. Large trailer yards. I also want 2 more of these facing in. So we've repeated that pattern there. Let's bring in some others. Now I don't want to just use total custom assets for this build either. We can also use some of the regular generic industry stuff. I'm just going to filter for buildings with no parking. And then some of these will be welcome in here too. Perhaps have a row of these manufacturing buildings here. And I also wouldn't mind some storage of some sort as well. We also had a comment last episode as well of someone asking if I factor in building level at all when plopping. Not usually, but I guess I probably should, just to help the economy out. So not everyone's super high level starting out with that. So I'm going to filter down for level 1 buildings. And then I fancy a few of these storage pits as well in some capacity. Not sure how these are going to work, perhaps related to the recycling centre we can build out here. But let's bring an end to our distribution here. And I think I wouldn't even mind doubling some of these up here. We could even change, although, yeah, I think I am going to do the same. Again, looking back at our inspiration, these things are very repetitive. We can then box off the start of the park here as well. I guess I'm calling it a bit of an industrial park. I suppose at least this distribution centre side of things over here. And then we'll just have this wrap up and around. That can just go straight across, to be honest. Until it meets with that guideline. We're going to finish off, which marks the end of that development for us. And gives us, you know, what we got there? 6 chunky manufacturing buildings. It is actually helping the economy run. In fact, one of them is even complaining of a lack of labour. So turning our attention back to the arterial road, our dumps or storage pits are now starting to get the raw resources delivered, with coal and metal ore arriving so far. So in terms of, again, positioning and orientation, again, what's around here, we're going to have a really important arterial road coming here. In fact, I think what I'm actually going to do some quick lane maths on. Can we afford the larger roundabouts yet? Yeah, we can. Let's unlock those in the tech tree. Substation, you just hang out there for a second. You'll go somewhere else, I imagine. We can upgrade our roundabouts on the bridge as well now. Very large is a little much, I think. Let's stick to medium. Add these in here. That does steepen that a touch, doesn't it? Let's go ahead and push that back a little bit. There we go. Delete some trees in the road. But yes, to carry on reforming the road hierarchy, as we approach this junction, I would like some asymmetry, which will have looking a little bit like that. And I'm also going to have a 4-lane divided road in here as well, with some grass lining down it. And we delete that there as it changes back. This way we'll have the extra turning lane for people getting into the industrial area. And then now I know I want these buildings here that are going to start stockpiling these ores to be just a tile away from this road. Again, this is like a separate business now within the industrial park, right? So bring these over. Again, yeah, we know Netherlands Fire Station. Let's just put you there for right now. We'll likely build out an expanded detailing area for this fire station in a second as well. And again, we can see where those natural fence barriers are going to want to expand here. The substation, I wouldn't mind it being here, I suppose. If I could get rid of Lumina. There we go. Just budge you up a touch. No one ever really visits this. And I suppose I wouldn't mind having this as a bit of a sort of dusty walk-in, you can imagine, where commuters for the various factories. Just kind of cutting across into the industrial park here. So I'm going to bring some dirt and sand in to replicate that terrain damage here. A bit of sand and dirt. I'm going to bring in some trees around this as well. Now I'm also going to use some of the invisible pedestrian pathways by the extra networks mod this comes from, and which is just an invisible pathway basically, so we can have people just taking a little shortcut through to work. And then we'll just kind of tree this off as well. I'm going to put another cul-de-sac down here in the corner. There we go. Oh, we just hit another milestone. Wonderful. Gives us a nice little cash injection. Then we could even bother as well just to support the substation with a few extra props as well. It's a lot of these little areas, I think, that add up to, you know, a more personal city. Maybe a little burnt out car down here as well, you know. That's something a bit old and knackered. I don't want to go too overboard with it. But you could just sit here forever, couldn't you, doing this sort of stuff? A couple of cardboard boxes, maybe. Yeah. Just so we have these little areas, and you know, if you just do one every time you play, if you don't have the patience to do it everywhere, because it can be quite overwhelming if you try and do it literally everywhere. But you know, just every time you play, make one of these little areas, and before you know it, your city will just be packed with these little personalized corners, you know. Makes a world of difference to me, it really does. I think I'm also going to add another lane onto the roundabout here as well, or at least the entrance onto it. Just so they have the option to take a couple different exits in and out. We'll also do the same here as well, just on that first segment. Yeah, traffic over here is consistently bad. I kind of called this out in the first episode. So not that we're going to be building this side of the map today, but I wouldn't mind possibly preparing a connection for them. So if we could break this up, let's go ahead and upgrade probably into divided road again. We'll do some more lame maths here. So just reforming this into non-highway road. And then forming brand new grid boundaries here in terms of where we're going to go. We probably will want another thick 4-lane arterial. One that maybe comes this direction and over the bridge. We will definitely need to consider local roads crossing this river. We can't just have the highway back and two here. So just to kind of think out loud with the road hierarchy thoughts. Again, I'm going to keep this fairly uniform. So from here to here, What should we say? 454? At least in this initial smaller grid. As we begin to cover vast distances heading the other ways, we'll maybe look at some other measurements. I'll see what suits. Bringing those across and then just giving a connection here. Not I envision that getting a lot of use at all. I'll even just remove the traffic light there as well. But someone might use it. I could also upgrade it to highway roads, which would encourage them to come down if it's a faster route. But yeah, just so it's another way from right to left, this way. I'm also going to connect this one in as well here. Oh, there we go. Wonderful. Someone's already using it. Where are you going? I'm actually quite curious. Your destination is 20 Sunset Lane. Oh, wonderful. He lives over here. Perfect. So a few extra expanded connections. Given the fact we also have some low worker populations over here as well, we'll also continue to fill out some grid. Now, I also want to name the individual kind of grid towns as well that develop. And quite hilariously, last episode, I pronounced Sarasota as Saratoga. I'm definitely thinking of the old world Warhammer there. So, in honor of that hilarious mispronunciation, it's very much kind of Tucson from Arizona all over again, isn't it? I'm going to name this first town, which is really going to lie this side of the river. This town here is going to become Saratoga. Wonderful. So, we'll immortalize that right at the start of the series, okay? But yes, with that said, let's actually grow out some more grid. So already this is picking up so much usage, just having those extra connections in there. Almost like the AI is actually kind of avoiding the traffic. We can also see we've got some demand for ambulance here as well, so this is probably a good time to revisit our budget here. Healthcare is underfunded. Let's come back up to 80% here. Still in the profit. Although the clinic only has one ambulance, doesn't it? Yeah, it isn't very big. Those new houses have also got rid of the worker demands over the new warehouses as well. But let's return to our second development over here. So let's place in another one of Joe's ploppables. I'm going to use this almost as an entrance, I think, into this recycling centre here. Let's push it over so all of our textures are flush. And also see an opportunity here as well for some nice tree detailing. Just at the front of this particular office. We can also grab the border control booths from bridges and ports as well. I'm going to place one of these in to function just as that, a little security booth. That just sort of protects the facility from being accessed by the general public, heavy machinery in here and whatnot. I can also wouldn't mind some functional car parking. Is that going to sit and fit? It is indeed. It's fantastic. I might even push it back a tile. Just so we get that room at the front. Where I think some further trees would also be quite welcome. Now we could use these piles, and we do have them in the model, or in Find It, since they're official base game assets. So these are available to us. We can place a few of them. We'll do 4 here. Try select a few different ones. So almost, if you can imagine, this is the end process material that's being recycled here. And then again, I think I'm even going to put these on some concrete tiles as well, which I'm going to draw out 90 degrees from the road. And the idea here is that, this ore is being stored on hard concrete ground. So it's not just kind of, exposed to the elements, if you will. Take those down. Grab everything here, and then we can just position it exactly how we like. And lots of texture paint is going to be very welcome here. Especially with the dirt around the edge of these sort of, I guess, storage yards is what you could call them. And then we could even box these yards in with some industrial metal fence as well, I think. Something like that. And then again, if we search for truck, maybe able to pull up probably a dump truck, I think most appropriate in this instance, isn't it? Okay. We've even got the incineration plant. Yeah, it's not the right sub-building for this. I am also playing with static ploppables as well, which we can do an awful lot of fun with, but again, I want to keep a lot of the plopped buildings as functional as I can, really. Again, just a little bit of dirt that's perhaps, you know, blown over from these ore piles sitting here, as the weather's just affected it over the years, right? So already I hope you can see this in practice, just this still functional industry. I think it has a lot more form, especially when we have these actual trucks driving around the truck yard, right? Isn't that just so immersive? Really like that. Fantastic stuff. So just going to start drawing out some roads here. I'm not going to unlock this tile just yet, but I'm just going to use Anarchy to map roads out into those tile boundaries. I really want to open the tiles slowly and kind of fill each area before we move on to another segment. But when we reach an area like this, I just want to see where things are going to go. I'm also going to do the same with the arterial road as well, which might actually split. Will you form a bridge nicely here? Yes, you will. So that'll do that. Now, I'm also going to drag a small road from this 90-degree angle, making sure it maintains that 90 degrees from the highway. And delete what we have there. And then we can upgrade this one here into 4-lane in the middle. And then when that's there, I'm a little close to that lake there, to be honest. I can actually just kind of form the dam, can't I? Which I think I'm happy to do. Kind of integrate the water into the road network, won't it? And then that will emanate down there. I don't want to go too far because, of course, I'm paying upkeep for these roads, but not actually using them. But just so I can see how the arterials are going to form here. And again, the practice of keeping all these grids nice and whole. So that makes all this very zonable here. Right, and that'll fill out the area. So I am also happy for zoning here as well. Again, like the rest of the city, I don't want to go plopping crazy. Because again, zoning has a place. And the same with the industry. The industry buildings are fairly nice, to be honest. I think sometimes they're guilty of a little too many smokestacks. But it's something we can deal with. So let's bring in some new frames here. Now we can still be really detailed with it, so we'll just zone in. Let's just do that and then see what grows. And then I'm going to take out this corner one here, okay? And then same with the next block, we can have some zoning, just so the simulation can decide what it wants without me always choosing, you know, manufacturing or storage or whatever. Let it grow up, and then we're going to take out that one this time. And that one go. And then we can see where these little industrial blocks can come together. And again, all of these we can fill with space like scrapyards. Again, Google Earth satellite imagery is wonderful inspiration for an area like this. Revisiting our fire station. We're definitely going to keep this here, I think. It's got good access for the whole city. Maybe even down on this road. Yeah, we'll have it here. So then I can actually orientate my detailing against the highway here. And then we can have some just appropriate prop support to help embellish the fire station out a little bit. Despite the fact this fire station actually only has one fire engine working for it. You know, we can pretend things are a little bit more elaborate here. The traffic down here has gotten a lot better. It's just starting to spike again. I'm wondering if there's actually the rush hour coming in, because we're just about to come into the rush hour in the morning. So these roads still helping support the traffic quite nicely here. Office zoning has also unlocked now as well. Not that we're going to have the education requirements to support office zoning. We're very nearly in need of a high school expansion. And I think we will place our first office in. I'm going to go for this big level one here at least. I actually wonder if I can grab the colour scheme of this one and have it on that one. Yeah, I'm happy with that. You know, so if you come into work with or for this distribution company, this is sort of the head office here, you know. And I think what would really complement this is a billboard of some description, although what company, I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look through a few of them here. I think the most distribution one I can sort of find here is that going to be the onshore one, you know, kind of onshore distribution. I think makes a pretty nice sort of name, doesn't it? And then we'll actually have a few of these here. Let's maybe have one, you know, by the highway, so passing kind of transport and distribution moguls can think, oh, you know, onshore distribution, have a base here. So maybe we can kind of set up these companies almost as we go around building the city. You know, onshore distribution is a pretty big employer in Saratoga. Might be a lot of fun there, I think. So just some really nice details again we can add in. It's another little spot of personality for a build, isn't it? Now, akin to what we got going on over here. Which I'm not sure if I have anyone walking just yet. Probably not. Are you going to come down here? Let's have a look. Moment of truth, everyone. You must be. There's nothing else down there. Look at that. Isn't that cool? He's finished his shift. Now he's just walking back through the wasteland to go back home. Walking past the substation on his way out of work. How cool is that, right? That's so fun. Love those little areas of the city, especially as they start to get active. Really fun. Really, really like that. The small things, you know? It's just makes a difference, doesn't it? Billboards and invisible pathways are the secret to happy city building, everyone. So during that last milestone, we actually unlocked public transit for the first time. Now, I wouldn't mind setting up one bus line today, but I'll probably have a separate episode of setting up bus infrastructure around the rest of Saratoga, which will grow on the waterfront next episode. Then we can have a look at a proper bus network. But certainly prepping the presence of the transit infrastructure, as in the bus depots and the taxi depots here, is something I want to do. Now, I would like to rotate this 180 degrees. So let's come in there. And again, purely for orientation, because I want the visual of those buses parked up. I don't see the need to add the electric bus upgrade just yet. And then with the bus depot down, we can place some bus shelters. For right now, we're just going to do essentially a commuter line for the industrial area. So it can stop. I don't really want to stop it there. That's blocking the car park for the building, isn't it? So I think I'll actually build it a little bus turnaround road where it can stop. And factor this into a bit of a workers' break area, maybe. So we'll have one stop here in the industrial area where everyone can come to work. And then it can navigate its way essentially straight down Main Street. So I can't place any on this road, which is fine. Instead, we'll place one here as we come in. And I'm going to mirror that on the way out as well. It won't stop down Main Street. You essentially have to stop either side of it. And then for right now, it can just mirror back down here. This will continue to go around these road networks one day, don't worry. But for right now, it's just a little continuous loop. It'll be a lot more developed next episode. I'm also going to keep on top of naming my bus lines when it comes to just keeping track of them. and generally administrating them. It's just really helpful to know which line is which. So I'm going to make this nice orange colour, quite bright. And that is going to be the Saratoga Industrial Shuttle, which will go up likely to another form of transit, possibly trams that start here and eventually cross into downtown spaces, but it's going to be a long time before we get there, everyone. My word, if you thought you waited a long time for a downtown in my CS1 build, get ready for a wait here. And then we also unlocked the taxi depot as well, which we do have. By the way, this is the bus station. I've totally glossed over that. This is the bus station from Bad Peanut's City Stations pack, the compact bus depot. Again, which you can pick up down below on Instant Gaming. That directly helps support the channel if you wish. Beyond that, I'd also like to add in the small taxi depot, which is going to sit and fit perfectly in there. Isn't that amazing? And then I wouldn't mind bringing in maybe some smaller zoned office off the back of that as well. I'm going to also add some taxi stands in and around mainly kind of the commercial side streets here. But yeah, rather than the road, because of the type of road here, I can't place them there, which is fine. But I think, you know, in orbit of Main Street, they're certainly going to get a little bit of use. That gives us 3. We'll also put one in the industrial area as well. Actually, can we place these? Yeah, we can place them on bus-only roads. I guess it does say taxi and bus, so I suppose we'll keep both in then. First people arriving, first people getting off. Brilliant news. And then we did also just unlock parks as well. So we can probably just decorate this space with a few of these. I just put up to a little plaza for them. But the taxis are just kind of chilling here, so I'm guessing this might not actually be the best place for a taxi stand. So I think we'll relocate that to be a little more strategic. I could also do that on a separate line here as well, you know? Maybe have a taxi rank at the back, maybe? That'd be more appropriate. We'll place, let's say, taxi stand here on the back side. This way I can sort of double up that shelter detailing then. It's working to both of those, right? We can have our taxis wait just on the opposite side. It looks like someone's actually going to use that immediately, which is quite nice. These people are actually using the taxis. I always felt it was kind of a underutilized transit method in CS1. And then we'll give this little kind of workers arrival hub here. Just a general kind of tree boundary. And then carry on emanating these little pedestrian walking pathways. Just where you'd expect those desire lines to form, with people wanting to take shortcuts pretty much all across this space. And just a really effective trick for adding some life into a bit of green space. There we go, immediately getting used. So I really love to see that. And hopefully, indeed, some workers arriving for work. Wonderful stuff. We're walking through the security checkpoint there as well. But otherwise, with plenty of ideas to run with now, let's go ahead and finish off each of our individual developments with surface extension, prop work, and generally just blending in a much more interesting and detailed industrial area than just regular generic block zoning. So grab yourself some snacks and we'll be right back with Kokomo detailing time-lapse. Right guys, so let's check out what's happened around the Saratoga Industrial Park, shall we? So as initially envisioned, the visual of mass truck container and distribution warehouse very clearly visible from the highway interchange. With appropriate branding that's present all around the site. Multiple areas of onshore distribution. And I guess we'll keep these guys going. We'll make sure onshore has several sites around the facility. And I'll let you guys choose exactly what it is that they're delivering here. Beyond this, trucks, expanded pallets are all across the yard with concrete tiles. Different change in texture. With some more dry ground surface painter. Again, more branding containers at the back of those repeated designs. With the head office here, and then a smaller processing unit. Here with the stuff that is essentially zoned. Just trimmed off with some fencing. And some props at the front with expanded surfaces. Then over in the, I guess, kind of aggregate pile yard we have going on over here. This is very workers and resources. Actually, now I'm kind of looking at it from the road. It really does look like workers here, doesn't it? Multiple piles, including garbage as well. You know, perhaps this is the raw pile before it's processed elsewhere within this site. And then delivered here. And of course, all this from the simulation perspective is just manufacturing. So you can see these guys want stone, cotton, timber, wood. Annoyingly, they all want something different. Well, that's all right. Okay, I don't care too much about that. But so the simulation, I guess, we'll actually check the production chart here. Of course, we're not processing any raw material just yet. We will eventually place these, but this area we're building now is going to be quite dense, so there's going to be no farmland near here. So we'll place that at a later date once we move into some wider tile spaces. But processed goods are starting to come through now. Concrete is already massively in demand, so we'll be importing a lot of that. But in terms of monetary value, we're at nearly 15 grand an hour now. So things are slowly ticking along. But we can see just some of these productions starting to filter through here, producing quite a bit of our own food here. So yeah, it's ticking along. And then over toward this side, we'll check out there's some more zoning here, offices and mixed industry. And tactical cul-de-sac as well. Really nice orientation here with the entrance to two buildings on the edge of a road. Really goated functionality, that just the ability to plot them in without having to do node control every time. It's like, oh my god, so nice. Brilliant. And then also went in with a northeast commercial building to indicate perhaps the presence of, you know, what is left of some 50s and 60s industry before the billionaires' distribution warehouses popped up over here. And then behind this is just expanded fence and prop detailing with some vehicles. These guys are also getting access in here via the back of the taxi depot. So with the surfaces and orientation, you can create some really powerful kind of like cute back alley spaces really easily in CS2 with these mods. And then more of the sprawl, we had some worker demands over here. So this grid will continue to fill out with low density, probably in this chunk of river here. In terms of over this side, I'm definitely going to plan a more medium density crawl episode, which is probably where we'll work next time. Developing these riverfronts around here as a bit of our first apartments start to come in, and definitely maybe our first sort of uni buildings as well. More plazas and commercial space over that way. Definitely more. And we'll see that gradual climb as well, of course, you know. Remembering the grander city project here, downtown is going to be on that shoreline. So as we move toward that, I want several apartments visible before the grander towers. Which I'm sure once the entire mile grid frame is filled, is going to look pretty spectacular. I think this city really has potential to be one of the most visually pleasing projects we've ever done in the 7 years I've been making videos. Thank you for watching, by the way, if you're still here. 7 years, my word. Back over this way toward the edge of onshore, they have another site across the road, which went with some different type branding just on the edge of the warehouses. And I even dropped in some signage in terms of, you know, this is warehouse B. And then on the other side, you have warehouse A. You can hardly see it, but I know it's there. So I think it's really cool. And then, yeah, just tiny little details like that. And multiple examples of that today. The zoning has settled in really nicely. So the point of doing kind of the block and then deleting one was to isolate the buildings to let the simulation turn them into whatever it wants to be. And then bit of better bulldozer and some expanded prop work out the back. Really helps these areas just look a little bit more organic, I think. Right. So this one here actually isn't historical. I needed to do that. This one is, but these ones at the back aren't. Likewise with these here. These can all grow up to be whatever they want. But the log yard that's been expanded has been made historical. So it'll stay like this forever without really changing into something else and changing the surface for us. So hopefully several industry tips here to help make your spaces a little more interesting. I think there's definitely space for zoning. I think if you're going to take this viewpoint here for your starting industry area, it's not too bad. It's definitely better than just zoning, you know, in the cubes and then leaving it. So yeah, nice inspiration. The design lines, not too many people using the taxis. We'll get a sense of the bus ridership. Let's have a look at the line here together, shall we? Again, this is going to be grown out. 19 passengers, only 8% usage. Yeah, it doesn't really go that far at the minute. But we'll rework that to flow once it has a proper loop to complete as this area develops. But at least it's in. Nice bit of future prepping. And then just to touch on this warehouse again, there's just smaller delivery vehicles over here with a few containers and appropriate fence detailing. Leading us back to another cul-de-sac entrance, which again is a really nice way to use the cul-de-sacs, I think. Just changes the shape of the road network, which is really where CS2's road tools start to shine. Again, with how organic and natural they just merge. It's very satisfying. Also added some more asymmetry here too. Alongside some more detailing here with the invisible walking pathways here. Anyone going to use it? Want someone? Anyone? Yeah, they seem to walk on the road, do they? Yeah, but there are invisible pathways here. So people can cut through just alongside the store. Before that pretty much completes today's build, everyone. Other than that, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and an enormous shout out to the YouTube members and patrons that help bankroll these videos. If you want to get involved in that, links down to Instant Gaming for a great deal on your favourite games, and extra stuff over on the Patreon if you're interested. Let me know what you think of this one, and don't forget to let me know what it is that onshore are moving around. Enjoy the cinematics, and I'll catch you next time. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.